Look Outreach is underwritten by the generous support of Munter Enterprises. Family owned and operated since 1972, integrity is important, as our family name is on every project. Our word is our bond. Munter Enterprises. Just build it.
Exceptional products, expert design, experienced professionals. An American Buildings Company authorized builder can turn your dream of a new building into a reality. Because ABC Builders are local contractors, they know your market and can handle your project from beginning to end. So if you're ready today, your ABC Builder is building tomorrow.
Call Munter Enterprises, 518-584-6174.
Welcome back, everyone. Many of you have heard of the Underground Railroad. I'm sure many of us don't know enough about it. And what's particularly interesting to me is that many of the issues that this country faced late 1700s, 1800s, which is the reason that the Underground Railroad was founded, are still applied today. And I'm not certain that that's really good news, but it is rich in history. And joining me today is the co-founder, executive director of the Underground Railroad History Project, Mary Liz Stewart. So welcome, Mary Liz.
Welcome. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, quite welcome. Mary Liz came to us through Dr. Morgan, an interview I did last week. Underground Railroad, I remember studying it in school. I remember then forgetting about it almost immediately. And then recently, pretty much because of just the state of affairs in the country, it just reminded me again of how important that movement was. So tell me about the project and tell me when you and your husband got involved in it.
Well, my husband, Paul Stewart, and I were engaged in a personal research project back in the late 1990s. And we were looking for local, documented information about Underground Railroad activists that we could take to our respective audiences, I to my classroom, my husband to a newspaper he was writing for. And we found as we engaged with these period documents that we were engaging with voices of people who had been written out of this history. We were engaging with accounts of Underground Railroad activism that didn't really match up with that standard retelling. And so as we continued to pick and poke through these period documents and learning about Stephen Myers and Harriet Myers and William Henry Johnson and others, we thought this is really a story bigger than our respective audiences and by rights belongs to the community. So we launched off and formed a nonprofit so that we could have avenues through which we could share this information and also avenues through which we could apply for grants, for instance, to provide funding for sustaining these efforts.
Yeah, got it. Now, the Underground Railroad in many ways was its own society. A sanctuary, right?
Yes.
To be able to help people in our country who were slaves or recently freed to try to establish themselves. But in most cases, it was to escape the situation that they were in, right?
Very often. Certainly, white and black abolitionists both were very interested in working out strategies to assist freedom seekers, people who had escaped enslavement and were moving from where they were enslaved to where they would choose to set up a life of freedom, which for some was in our capital region communities, for others was continuing on to Canada, perhaps to England, sometimes to Haiti.
Yes.
But at the same time, there was a need for addressing issues of equity for those freedom seekers, particularly who chose to stay in our communities. And we find black abolitionists like Stephen Myers and Dr. Thomas Elkins and William Topp and others working together to address issues of equity related to housing and jobs and voting rights and education, things that, again, very much resonate with issues we still deal with today.
Right. That's the whole point. When I opened this conversation, I was thinking about that in some ways it's very disappointing that so many of these issues are still confronted by people who live in this country today.
Yes.
And it just seems to be a heightened sort of divisiveness right now, which doesn't help. It really doesn't. So as part of the Railroad History project, you hold a convention.
Yes, we do.
Every year.
Yes.
It's coming up, and it's going to be in Albany. Tell me about it.
This March 24, 25, 26, so the end of this month, we have organized our 16th annual public history.
Wow, that's great.
We call it conference convention, and this year we're actually March 24 and 25. We're going to be at Schenectady County Community College. They're hosting the program. Sunday the 26th, we'll actually be back at the Stephen and Harriet Myers residence in Albany, historic Underground Railroad site. So we're very excited because Friday night we have Tim Wise coming. He's an internationally known anti-racist speaker and very thought-provoking, and so he's joining us Friday night for an opening address. Saturday is a day full of opportunities and experiences related to analyzing the relationship of contemporary issues to their sources, where they've come from and how they've evolved over time to arrive at the way we experience these issues today. But we're also spending time on Saturday addressing possible responses, so that whether it be individual response options or collective response options, but trying to take a look at not only the issues we deal with today, where they've come from, but in turn, how can we respond to them as well?
You know what's nice about that, Mary Liz, is there's a sense of hope in what you're saying. You said this phrase a couple of times in the last month especially, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Yeah.
But the other opportunity there is that a lot of times when it comes to Americans at Risk, which is the name of the conference this year, by the way, when you get into issues like racial denial, issues of privilege, issues of who matters and who doesn't matter, it's so easy to withdraw when in reality, that should be the signal to get involved.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's what this conference promotes,
yes,
doesn't it?
it really does. It really does. So we're very excited about the opportunities for people to gather together. People from all walks of life, various ages. Many times we have students from high school all the way up to gray hairs like me and older, gathering together to take a look at some of these very hard issues that. Our belief is we need to talk about them together and figure out where they come from, how we're going to respond, where we're going to go tomorrow, so that we can build a better future for all of us. And I have to say, for us, that sense of hope comes from a very small experience, if I may share it. When my husband and I were engaged in our research, we had visited the Harriet Tubman home in Auburn, New York. And while there were contributions coming in for an exhibit that was going to be set up. 2 boxes arrived while we were there. They were opened, and in one was a set of shackles, and in the other was a collar. Both of them cast iron. The collar these were real artifacts, so these were things used on human beings. As we stood in the presence of these objects, the first set of emotions was just sort of a riling up of all sorts of very negative emotions. But as we stood in the presence of these objects, we thought about the people represented by these objects who faced this brutal and violent institution of slavery, federally sanctioned in our country, and they faced it on a daily basis. And we started to think about the bravery and the courage and the fortitude of these people who did have to face and live their lives, through this institution. And it started to turn our thinking around and focus in on not denying the aspects of these circumstances, acknowledging them, but then being hopeful and saying, what can we do to change things?
That's the way to look at it.
Yeah.
And that's a combination of, just wanting to learn from the past, understanding what it means to us, and then changing it or adapting the lessons that you should be learning from that for the future, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the conference is March 24, 25, and 26. It's a 16th annual Public History Conference this year. The title is Americans at Risk. Boy, I highly encourage you to find out more about it. And you can find out more from us on our website and stuff, and we'll push that through to you.
Okay.
Mary Liz, very nice to meet you. Thank you very much for coming in.
It's been a pleasure.
To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.
Look Outreach is underwritten by the generous support of Munter Enterprises. Family owned and operated since 1972, integrity is important, as our family name is on every project. Our word is our bond. Munter Enterprises. Just build it.
Exceptional products, expert design, experienced professionals. An American Buildings Company authorized builder can turn your dream of a new building into a reality. Because ABC Builders are local contractors, they know your market and can handle your project from beginning to end. So if you're ready today, your ABC Builder is building tomorrow.
Call Munter Enterprises, 518-584-6174.